The day my younger brother surprised our entire family. If you ever met my younger brother Arav, the first thing you would probably think is that he's the most carefree person in our entire family. He was always laughing, always joking, and never seemed to take anything seriously. At least, that's what all of us believed. My mother often said, "This boy will never become serious in life." My father would shake his head and say, "He still has a lot to learn about responsibility." And to be honest, I thought the same thing. Arav was 3 years younger than me, and he had a strange talent for finding shortcuts in everything. If there was any household work, he would somehow disappear at the perfect moment. If mom asked someone to buy vegetables, he would immediately say, "Maybe Bhaiya is going outside anyway." If dad asked him to clean his room, suddenly he would feel extremely tired. To all of us, Arav was just a funny, slightly lazy, slightly careless guy. But one day, something happened that completely changed the way we saw him. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening. Dad returned from the office looking more worried than usual. Mom noticed it immediately. "What happened?" she asked. Dad sighed and sat down on the sofa. "There are some problems in the company," he said quietly. "My salary might get reduced for the next few months." The room suddenly became silent. Our family was not very rich, but we lived comfortably. A salary cut meant we would have to be more careful with our expenses. Mom quickly tried to stay positive. "It's okay," she said. "We will reduce our expenses for some time." I also tried to help. "I can try to find a part-time job along with college." But during that moment, Arav said nothing. That was unusual. Normally, he would be the first person to crack a joke and lighten the mood, but that day, he stayed quiet. Then he slowly stood up and went to his room. We didn't think much about it at the time. Over the next few days, the atmosphere in our house slowly changed. Mom really started reducing unnecessary spending. Dad seemed more thoughtful and stressed, and I started searching for part-time work online. But during all this, something else was happening in the background, something we didn't notice at first. Every evening, Arav started leaving the house. At first, we assumed he was just going out with friends, but he would come back late, and he looked tired. One evening, Mom asked him, "Where do you go every day?" Arav quickly replied, "Just hanging out with friends." Then he went straight into his room. Mom felt a little suspicious, but she didn't push the question further. 2 weeks passed like this. Then one night, something unexpected happened. The doorbell rang. I went to open the door. A delivery boy was standing outside holding a large package. He asked, "Is this Arav's house?" I was confused. We didn't order anything. The delivery boy checked the label. The name is Arav. I called inside, "Arav, someone is here for you." Arav came running to the door. The moment he saw the package, he quickly signed for it and grabbed it. "Yeah, it's mine," he said quickly. All of us were now curious. Mom asked, "What's inside?" Arav looked slightly nervous. "Nothing, just something I needed." Dad raised his eyebrows. "Open it." Arav stayed quiet for a seconds. Then he slowly opened the box. Inside was a brand new laptop. For a moment, nobody said a word. Dad finally asked, "Where did you get this from?" Arav looked at the floor for a moment. "I bought it." I immediately said, "How? Where did you get the money?" Arav took a deep breath. "I've been working at a cafe for the past 2 weeks." The room went completely silent. Mom looked shocked. "Working? When?" "After college," Arav said, "in the evenings." Dad asked another question. "But why did you buy a laptop?" Arav looked at me and smiled slightly. "Bhaiya was searching for a part-time job, right?" He pointed at the laptop. "You said you could do online work if you had a good laptop." I froze. A few days earlier, I had casually mentioned that if I had a better laptop, I could try freelancing online. I had said it as a passing comment, but Arav had remembered it. Mom's eyes slowly filled with tears. Dad didn't speak for several seconds. Finally, he asked quietly, "You did all this for your brother?" Arav suddenly laughed. "Relax, it's not that dramatic." Then he joked, "Anyway, you all keep saying I'm never serious about anything." A small laugh spread through the room, but that night we realized something important. Sometimes the person who jokes the most is also the one who understands responsibility the best. From that day onward, whenever Dad talks about his children to someone, he always says one thing proudly. My younger son, he loves giving us surprises. And honestly, now whenever Arav cracks a joke, we don't take him lightly anymore, because we know something now that we didn't know before. Behind his constant smile, there is a very kind heart.